Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Simply Colorful FiberCast. Today's date is April 19th, 2019. My name is Lynn and I'm your host. Welcome. As you can hear, I hope it's not too bothersome. I'm just finishing up a row with the long arm quilting machine, and so that shall stop soon. And today we're going to talk, so hi, happy middle of April, and we're live here in the Simply Colorful studio. And I thought what we would do today is talk about Paris. Yes, we're continuing our theme of French quilting and French fiber. I have to admit I spent more time drinking espresso with a lump of sugar and eating chocolate croissants than I did actually buying or finding much fabric over there. But I have to tell you, everywhere you turn in Paris was an inspiration. So I am ready to dive into my art here in the Simply Colorful studio, and I invite you to come with me. So we'll talk about Paris. We'll also talk about what I'm doing today is actually cutting fabric. And I'm cutting fabric just for a very simple, but what I hope somewhat striking quilt for my niece Mary, who's graduating from St. Anselm this middle of May. And I'm going to make just a simple 5" by 5" squares put together. Actually, they end up being 4.5" by 4.5". And actually, I'll show you a picture of one that I made a few weeks ago that I think maybe I had shown you. If I didn't, I'll show you again. As always, especially this week, because I'm going to be cutting, so I won't have a lot of sewing to do. Send me anything that you're working on, pictures, news, to lynn@simplycolorful.com, and I'll share it with everyone. We'll have a nice time together, just catching up. Okay, so here is a quilt that I made a few weeks ago, and that's the type of quilt I'm making here, and I'm just cutting squares for it. So very simple. They are batik fabrics, and I am trying, you can see I pulled out from the stash. I'm trying to go with lights in the yellow tan, and then darks. I did have purples, but I'm going to put those aside. Darks in the blues, like that, and maybe some browns. So that's what I'm thinking. And I did my math. Actually, before I signed on, I just went to use my electronic quilt, which I love. I love that program, EQ. I went to update it because it said, because my version 8 has I don't know if it's bug fixes or what, and I went to update it, and I just had an issue updating it. It won't let me, something about the backup files, won't let me get rid of those, and so the new installation isn't working. So I had to go with the old-fashioned pen and paper and calculator, but I can do it. So this is going to be a big quilt. It's going to end up being 80 inches by 110 inches. And that means that we need, well, actually this was assuming 5" finished squares. 16 by 22 squares. Let me do, I may have to do that like 18 by 24 at the end of the day because of the shrinkage of this. Anyway, it's a lot. It's over 300 squares, so let's get cutting. So that's all I'm doing. I ironed some things here. I cut these, which are pretty. And what I'm going to do is make 4 patches. Remember the good old trusty 4 patches that we made when we first learned how to quilt? Oh, so many years ago. For those of you who might be newer to quilting, welcome. Nice to have you along for the ride. And anyone who's doing any fiber, welcome. This is just a quilting bee, if you will. Getting things lined up. And put my glasses on. Sorry about that noise. It's almost done. That's my basket quilt that you saw me working on last week. I put a border on it, and I found a good backing. And I actually pieced batting together so that it's an economical quilt. Okay, so that's a keeper, that piece. Oops. And there are probably more economical ways to do this. Well, no. So I'm using my ruler to measure. And I'm sort of double checking it on the mat, but I am using the grid of the ruler because it flattens down the fabric so that I get a better cut, I think. And now what I'm going to do is, while I have these here, oh, Gloria. Hi, Gloria, if you're out there. Thanks for asking about the Martinelli rotating roundabout wheel. I sent you the link to that. And I also put it in the FiberCast announcement for anyone who might have an interest in it. I like it. So all I'm doing is I'm going to be sewing 4 squares together, 4 patches, and then I'll be putting those all together. So while I'm cutting out, so that I know that I'm cutting enough lights and darks, I'm going to put that. There's one. There's 2. Look at that, 4. Five, 6 already done. Okay. This might not be big enough, might not be wide enough, or it might be perfect. There we go. She's done. Thank you, Miss Gamble. And I thought, because cutting is not all that interesting, I decided not to do the overhead cam. But we will, whenever we start doing piecing that's more intricate, like when we start our next mystery quilt, I definitely will have the overhead cam going so we can see up close. So what have you all been doing? Well, I've been off eating croissants. Man, I love those chocolate croissants. Oh, let's cut right to the chase, though. So Bob and I were in Paris for a week, which was lovely. The very last hours we were there, the night before we left, was the fire in the Notre Dame Cathedral. In fact, it was spectacular. And I have to say, I think it could have been much worse. And I'll tell you what I mean about that. I have a picture here of it, and I also have a picture of the fire. But I wanted to, if you haven't seen it, and I know it's been all over the news, here's a good view of the cathedral from the not so traditional view. It's from the back, and you can see the wooden roof and the spire. You usually see it from the front with the big rose glass stained window and then the 2 columns. This is on the back. This is for the view from the back. And what burned was the spire and the wooden roof. But so far, all of the walls are up. A lot of the stained glass has not been ruined, as far as I know. And a lot of the relics, in fact, the angels that were on the spire had been removed just days before, so those were all in safekeeping. And then as the fire burned, I'm sure you saw in the news, the priest and others did a sort of bucket brigade, and they went in and cut part of the thorn, crown of thorns that Christ wore, possibly a piece of wood and one of the nails from the crucifix. So lots of important relics, if you will, were pulled out. So it could have been a lot worse, and there's an outpouring of support to rebuild it. So I have faith that it will be as beautiful as ever. So what happened was it started to burn at about 6 o'clock, 6:30 Paris time, maybe 7. Bob and I had just gotten back to our hotel. We got in the hotel, and then we turned on the news, because by the sixth night, so we spent a whole week in Paris. By the sixth night, yes, we turned on the TV, and we found an English channel. I think it was the worldwide BBC, and then we found CNBC, international news stations, basically. And there was Notre Dame on fire. And so we went out into the streets, and we went to look at it. And it wasn't scary, really. It was sad. People weren't panicked, really. I didn't get that sense. It was more just disbelief, and just disbelief and sadness about the fact that it was such a historic, crafted piece of our history. Anyway, maybe at the end I will. So these are fireworks. Maybe at the end, if we have time, I'll show you, or if you haven't seen it, I'll show you the video we took of the fire. But I'm hearing some dings, so I want to talk to you more than me talking. And it's humid here in the Northeast. It's lovely. But KB is out there. Hello, KB. My sister KB says, hi, Lynn, welcome home. She says, it's good to be in the sewing room tonight after a week of yard work. She says, wow, am I sore? Oh, I bet you are. There are lots of folks chatting on YouTube. Oh, good. Shout out to Linda, Carol, hi, Dwayne, Elizabeth, Patsy, Pastry, Sylvia, and Super Peace Rose. Peace out, you guys. I'm psyched that you're out there. Yay. Okay, so I'll keep doing this. You know, why don't I go check email before I do any more? Oh, and there were so many museums in Paris. I can't believe all the art. This was a painting by Claren. I think it's George. See the woman reclining there with her dog. I thought that was the perfect picture for me, given the fact that when I came home, I didn't go back to working at my corporate marketing gig. So I have much more time to create and machine quilt. Anyway, I thought that art was beautiful. The Musée d'Orsay. So who's been to Paris? We should ask that. And if you have, what was your favorite part? And if you haven't, do you want to go? Do you have any interest? Are there other places in Europe that you've been, that you would recommend? The exchange rate in Paris was better than it has been in past years that I can remember. It was €1 was equal to $1.12 in US dollars. So, you know, when you buy a coffee for €2, it's actually costing you $2.25 or 2.25. And that does add up. So it's not 1 for 1, but it's not as bad as it has been in past years that I can remember. One of the things we did is, I love this batik. Isn't this pretty? Oh, shout out to Jean. Happy birthday to Jean. Happy birthday to Kelsey. So one of the best things we did also was as soon as we got off the plane, and we flew Delta, that was Air France. They have a partnership with Air France. So it was, and Bob would tell you the size of the airplanes. All I know is it wasn't the Boeing Max 330, but it was some maybe 767. The plane over was bigger than the one coming back. But anyway, as soon as we got off that long flight, which went fine nonstop from Boston to Charles de Gaulle, there was a counter there. Well, the train is right there, the RER, to take you right into downtown Paris. And I'm sure many of you know this, we could buy a Paris pass that gave us access to the metro and the RER all week, and buses. That includes buses and trains, and also we could buy a museum pass. So we did that. And I highly recommend it. It allowed us into many places. There were a few things, like the Grand Palais had a special exhibit on old books and objects of art. And they wanted us to pay another, I can't remember, €10 or something. So we didn't do that. But most things with that museum pass, you could get right in. You couldn't get into special exhibits, but that was fine. So look at all those I just cut up. So I wish people happy birthday. My sister is sore from her yard work, but you know, my sister's yard is beautiful. So it does pay off. I bet Sue is sore. I am not sore because, well, I only got home Tuesday. I had 2 dentist appointments this week, Wednesday and Friday. And boy, I have an implant story, tooth implant story. And if anyone gets the heebie-jeebies or squeamish, don't listen for the next minute. It's really not that bad, especially now that we're halfway solved, or the main part is solved. Basically, you know, an implant is when your tooth is just dead and you have to have it pulled. You can go with a denture, right? Or you can go with you can do nothing, right? Which is definitely plausible. We don't need all our teeth. A denture, a bridge, or an implant. And an implant, if you can find someone to do a good job and if you can afford it and yada, 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 is good because it allows the bone to grow around a new piece of metal that you put up into that part where your tooth was lost, that will then receive a post that will then allow a tooth to be put on the post. Well, apparently the post is more like a screw, and apparently they break. So I have, before I went to Paris, it broke. So, and then eventually the tooth fell out, the implanted tooth. And a piece of that screw stayed up in the implanted metal within my bone. So you can imagine thinking about how we were ever going to get up there and unscrew a little piece of the metal. And basically, I ended up going to Dr. Walsh, who was just awesome, and he was able to do it today and put a new post in. So it's been a week full of dental fun. Okay, you can turn the sound back on. I'm not talking about dentists anymore. Okay, we need some lights. Here's some lights. Oh, that's a pretty orange. No, I don't like it with the purple though. I like that. Okay, of course, this one, turn on my iron. And while the iron is heating up, I'll do another blue. So KB, Chris, if you're out there, hi. Chris is on her way to vacation tomorrow. And of course, before she left, she did me a huge favor. She looked in her stash and she got a couple of pre-cuts from me and my sisters and me. Oh my goodness. And I should have brought them up. They're still downstairs. So I'm going to play with those to create another pre-cut design. So I'll be working on that this weekend. If I can get my EQ reloaded. Really? So that's fun. And I'm jealous that your yard work is all done. I've got to get out there and do that this weekend. Oh, I didn't ask about the bunnies, but I know Sue was out there asking about how to keep the bunnies from eating her perennials and her plants. And we were talking about chicken wire, and I think she put zinnia straw. I can tell you a good success story. My mother just put up a fence with the small black plastic fencing that you can see right through, and you don't even see it really. And she put like rebar type metal stakes, and that's keeping the deer out. I don't know about the bunny rabbits though. Anywho, here's a pretty light one. I'm not showing you, am I? I think I'm even going to double this up. So I've got several light ones here. I'm hoping this looks a little bohemian. I should look up what bohemian means. Okay, so I am going to go check email. Again, if you haven't, say hi on Facebook. So hi to everyone. Carol, Dwayne, Diane. I bet Diane's out there. Gloria, Pat. But if you haven't, if you're not out there, send an email to Lynn at simplycolorful.com and I will show your pictures. Okay. Oh, out on the Seine, one of the first nights, there were people playing music. Let's see if this one. not very long. It's almost over. It was a lovely night on the Seine. There were lots of people out and about. But what was I going to show you? Oh, good pod, huh? Oh, I should show you the different fabric things. I'll do that after I check the email. Hey, Carol. Hi, Carol Bell. She says, hi, Lynn and FiberCasters. Glad you had a good holiday, Lynn. Thank you. She says, I have just booked to go to the Festival of Quilts in August this week and booked a place for the Missouri Star Quilt Company trunk show with Jenny. Good for you. That is great. Something to look forward to. Carol says, I'm still working on quilting my stars quilt. I think I may finish it by Christmas. Yours, Carol, in Yorkshire, England. So when you go to the Festival of Quilts, look at that. That's going to be a beauty. It's going to be worth the extra time I know it's taking to do that. Can you see that? The Festival of Quilts. I'm going to have to look that up. Oh, I'm so glad you're out there. Another Carol from across the way, Carol Lewin, says, hi, Lynn. I have to say that my favorite place that I visited was Versailles. Oh, that's beautiful. We did not get there. Was it magnificent? Big and ornate, I bet. The palace is incredible and the gardens are beautiful. She says, I would love to go back someday. Oh, Carol, that sounds great. Linda Griffin, hi. This is titled Unicorns. Oh, I love that. I love when these titles are unique. Oh, wow. Working on binding this unicorn quilt for my 5-year-old granddaughter for her birthday. It's been a kick. Oh, I love that. Look at that. Wow. That is great. I love the mane on them. Oh, she says, Linda says, I loved Paris, especially the art museums. We get a pass and visit as many as we can fit in. Oh my goodness, she says, I'm going again in September and can hardly wait. In stitches, Linda Griffin from My Quilt Haven. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, so you're going to have a ball. So you go a lot. I bet you explore different arrondissements. Oh, and I'd love to hear where you stay. We stayed in arrondissement 6. So it was on the left bank, and it was called the Hotel Da Vinci. And the reason is, in 1911, apparently one of the workers over at the Louvre took the Mona Lisa, stole it, and spent 2 days because he didn't want to go home with it because he thought he'd be found out. He went and he stayed at the hotel we stayed at for 2 days in room 605, something like that. So it's a good marketing tip, right? After that, he ended up, he hid it for 2 years. No one found him. And then he finally got caught 2 years later in 1913 trying to sell the painting to someone in Italy. He was convinced that Napoleon had brought it back and stolen it from Italy, and he believed he should go back to Italy. So anyway, that's we stayed right in tourist town, or not so much tourist town. It was off a little bit, but you certainly could walk to the Saint Germain district and all of the fun places. But I love to hear that you go there. It sounds so touristy, and I usually don't want to follow the bandwagon, I must admit, of touristy things, but there's something, it's the art museums. I can't believe the splendor and the beauty. And anyway, on and on I go. Oh, Leah. Leah says, hi, Lynn and FiberCasters. Just wanted to show you my progress on the mystery quilt. And she says, happy Easter. Oh, way to go, Leah. Look at that. This is going to be worth it. It takes a long time to do this paper piecing, I know. I started doing it and flunked out. My sister did it, as you know. Oh, look at that. Look at Leah's applique. Those are the 4 flowers that go in the corners. Speaking of mystery quilts, does anyone recognize this one? Remember when we did that one? That was a fun one. All of the mystery quilts, except for one, this one, are on simplycolorful.com. This was for our patrons only. Maggie! Maggie says, don't you just love batiks? Yes. She says, I can't get enough of that fabric. I'll be up at my daughter's in Maine next week. We'll plan a trip to Martin's for fabric. Do you know I've never been to Martin's? That's Mardens. And everyone, when they go to Maine, they talk about this. Oh, Maggie says, I was devastated to hear about the fire. Notre Dame has always been high on my bucket list, more so than the Eiffel Tower. I'm glad to know that the rose window is intact. I have a cross-stitch pattern of the window I'd like to stitch one day, and I will get to Paris one day. I know you will, Maggie. Congratulations to your niece. I live right down the street from St. Anselm and often do my daily walking on that campus. What a small world. Happy quilting, says Maggie. Oh, that's wonderful. Wow, it's such a small world, Maggie. Have fun at Martin's. Carol! Hi, Carol O. Over in Natick, all the way over there. Happy Easter. I'll see you Sunday. Carol says, hi, Lynn and fellow FiberCasters. She says, TGIF. Just tuning in. Sorry I am late. Oh, it's okay. She says, I will be watching tonight as our travels just got us back home. Happy sewing, everyone. Ooh, Carol, where have you been? Now, Carol is my sister-in-law. And you may recall a few months ago, she went to Barcelona. So she is a world traveler herself. I wonder where you've been, because I think I would have known if you'd been overseas. Welcome home. And I'm dying to know what quilts you're working on. And I'll see you Sunday, I hope, at Easter brunch. Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. She says, Lynn. Hi, Lynn. Welcome back from Paris. And thank you for sharing your trip with us. You're welcome. I didn't know. Kathy, thank you for letting me know that, because I didn't want to overdo it. And so, you know, if I never know when it's too much or not enough, but I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it. And you can just flip through if you don't want to see the pictures. Oh, and Kathy says, I will be traveling for the first time in a few years next week. I'm going with a quilting tour company to the Paducah Quilt Show. County Heritage Tours is a great group tour company. Oh, I went a few years ago with them to California and Texas to quilt shows. It's nice to be with a group and meet nice people. Yes. She says, I've been working on a few projects that needed finishing. Now my sewing room is all quiet and the machines are covered until I return. Have a nice week. Oh, have fun. You deserve it. That is great to hear. And great to hear about, I'll say that tour company again, Country Heritage Tours. They do a nice job, it sounds like. Oh, Carol. Carol says, hi, Lynn and all FiberCasters. So, hi again, right? She says, I hope everyone has had a good week so far. I am on my own this weekend as hubby is away helping our son put up some new garden fence panels. So I get to sew as much as I like, she says with a smile face. Ooh, helping her son put up some new garden fence panels. That's good. Speaking of keeping the critters out, I'm working on trying to get 4 baby quilts pieced and in between doing some English paper piecing. I have no idea what it will be, but I just enjoy some hand stitching. I hear you. In fact, I want to finish my basket quilt so I can I made a scrappy binding. And I just want to sit down in front of the TV and do that. So I hear you about that. It was so sad seeing Notre Dame burn this week. I am so glad I got to visit in September. Such a stunning building. She says, I have attached a picture of my English paper piecing. Oh, love it. Love that. Thank you for sending that. Excellent. Well, enjoy your weekend. That is great. Oh, and Becky is sending in thread and design requests on one of her quilts. So that I can look at later. She has a big quilt. Her client just made a trip around the world. In fact, I should go get it. Stay right there. I'm going to get it. You don't need this light in front of you. Speaking of batiks, you can see another example of batiks in action. It's huge. You see that? And again, this was made on Studio on the Hill over in Holliston. Isn't that nice and subtle? So anyway, and I will fold that up. It's all nice and ironed too, so I should be careful with it. Ooh. Oh, I'm so glad everyone's out there and taking trips. It's the best thing. Even there's something good about traveling when you get home, right? Because you appreciate home more, I think. Okay. How lucky are we all, right? Oh, and happy Passover for those of you celebrating that, and happy Easter. I told you last week or the week before that I've gotten into NASCAR and car racing. Well, my mother reminded me today that there isn't any this weekend because of the holidays, which makes sense. But I'm going to miss it. I haven't seen it in several weeks. I might do what? Oh, Peggy, if you're out there, Peggy McChrystal from Australia. I remember you saying that you set up a sewing machine down in the den so that you could sew with your husband watching TV. I may do that for this quilt. That might be a good thing to do. So I'm just creating sets of 2 again. Again, I need 88 sets of these. Two. We'll mix it up with some of these others. 2, 1, 2. There we go. Now did I mix that all up? That'll be good. What else? Let's see. So we talked about the trip. Oh, the fabric that I saw on the trip. So I did not buy any. Deb, who's out there, who went to, was it Portugal and Barcelona? She said she did buy some fabric. So we'll have to see, live vicariously through her. We happened upon a couple of places. One was a ribbon store, and another one was more of a yarn store, and they had some fabric, including Liberty of London. So that was fun. We also happened to, oh, look at that. That is nice though. The 2 darks together. We happened upon a couple, it must be a chain of stores selling men's shirts and ties. I think they had ties in the most fun, whimsical fabrics. And I tried to get Bob to consider wearing one. No way. Let's see if I can find that. Let's just see. I guess, see, this is another good thing about traveling. It stays with you for several days. Or a big trip like this does for me anyway. So here is Bob looking at that lovely jacket made out of roses. But I don't know if you can see that. The shirts, like there were bicycles and eye charts and ladybugs and just the coolest different shirts. I could not get him interested. I don't know, maybe you could see that. See if you were into cactuses. That looked like cave fabric to me. And I know it's a little hard to see that. I did take some pictures of some tile, but they weren't nearly as inspirational as the master's paintings. But I did get some tile ideas. There we go. And let's see. Oh, here's Notre Dame. So this is 16 minutes. This is when it was just burning. And the police were doing a very good job of quickly surrounding, as far as I could tell, surrounding and keeping the crowd back. And then they kept moving out street by street. So, like I said, it wasn't panic. I didn't sense panic. I just sensed some disbelief and sadness. And they believe, so far, seems like it was an electrical short up in the spire where the workers were working. That's what it's sounding like. My cousin Ben found a posting of it's not the curator, but it's someone responsible for the upkeep of Notre Dame. Because, of course, Notre Dame is 850 years old. That was the first building that was called Notre Dame, was erected in 1163. And then over the years, it's always being worked on, always being repaired. There's always something that, like our own houses, it's just continual upkeep. My cousin Ben found a YouTube, and I forget where it was, but it shows the person in charge of maintaining Notre Dame taking a tour and going up into all of those wooden rafters and up into the spire. Kind of interesting. So I'm making more lights. Okay, Bea, I'm so happy for you that you've got a lot of your yard work underway. That is great. I wonder if standing up, if I'm getting any steps. Having this thing was the best thing. I've only done 7,300 today. You don't get a lot of steps sitting in the dentist chair. It's my excuse. The most we did in Paris was 27,000 steps one day. And that was a lot for me because I've been sitting behind a desk for a few years. Okay. Those are very pretty. I like those. I think I'll just keep cutting a few more. Oh, this is good timing. Let's just, isn't that a pretty one? Ling. Hey, Becca. Hi. How are you? Oh, she sent me pictures in an email. Good, good, good. Becca, you have been cranking on some things. I cannot wait to see what you sent. Oh, Becca Clash said, oh, she sends us an update and she sent us some pictures. Oh, thank you, Becca. I love this. I went to Paris in 2004 with my mother. We saw Notre Dame. I would love to go back and go up in the Eiffel Tower. She says, I just attended 2 back-to-back quilt retreats, getting home late last night. They were very productive. She says, I made a bag and put the mitered corner border on a square quilt called Around the Town. I put bindings on 5 quilts, including the scrappy one appliqued with white flowers below, called Neighbor's Fence. So happy to hear of your corporate retirement. She says, on to the next stage of your life, a very quilt-filled future, I'm sure. Becca Clash in Columbus, Georgia. Thank you, Becca. And oh, okay, here is, oh, these are lovely. Okay, let's start with the Neighbor's Fence. On batik, no less, I do see. That is great. And then, and your work is beautiful. Oh, and look at your bag. And then, oh, look at that. Just beautiful work. So precise. Well, keep me posted on your retreats, girlfriend. Oh, square called Around the Town. Cool. Allie down under. Hello. Allie says, hi, Lynn. I'm joining late today, but it's great to be seeing you live. It's great to be seen and great to know you're out there. Allie is our cruiser from down under. Allie says, we have been back home a week, so just getting into the routine again. What a great time you had on your trip. I loved seeing your photos. Oh, good. Thank you. She says, so sad about Notre Dame, but wow, you were there to see the history. She says, I'm working on Good Fortune Mystery. No mystery anymore, she says. We free and low-cost camped for most of the 3 months we were away, and it is good to get back to machine sewing. I did heaps of English paper piecing, she says, hand sewing in the caravan. Here are a couple of photos. With love from Allison. Oh, look at how she fussy cut that. That is English paper piece. Look at them. That almost looks like tulip pink fabric, maybe. Maybe. Or sisters. And me. Oh, that is really cool. I like that. I'm enlarging it so maybe people can see that. Look at that. And that's taken inside her caravan. I love it. Oh, Allie. Well, welcome home. Enjoy that until your next adventure. I love to see where you go. And I love just seeing this from everyone. Chris, hi. Oh, very good. Chris sent me some guidelines for writing a statement, which I will share with you in the coming weeks. Look at this. This is driving me crazy. This one never comes undone. I wonder if I sewed it shut. But this one always comes undone. A couple of times a day I have to retie it. Bet you wanted to know that. Okay, let's do a couple more of these. And then I think we can set off on, okay, so we have to, here's the thing. There are a few more weeks in April. We have to get finish our things so that we can do a new mystery quilt, okay? So I'm working on the new mystery quilt. Everyone get ready. I will let you know more of what kind of materials are needed soon. So finish up your UFOs. I'm going to do this graduation quilt for Mary too. I did the basket one. So let's give ourselves another 2 more weeks to finish up our UFOs, and then we will do another mystery quilt. Okay? So we can do this. Who knows? Maybe we'll even combine, well, no, I dreamed these things up. I was going to say we could put embroidery into our next quilt. Deb, my friend and my cousin-in-law over in Upton, was looking for some embroidery patterns. And, you know, I've always wanted to do stump work. The process of using the embroidery floss and maybe even some wire, although I'm not sure that's true, to make 3-dimensional things. That would be fun, but not on our next mystery quilt. Who knows? Maybe we could do rug hooking eventually, but I am getting ahead of myself. And you know, before you know it, it's going to be June and then the 4th of July. So if you have any projects you need to finish up before you get into the summer months, let's do it. And take a break from all the gardening, right? Once you get really sore and you've done your steps, come inside and motor on the sewing machine. It's actually, can you imagine any better of a day? Maybe being with family and friends too for a cookout. Then doing some gardening, then doing some sewing, or doing some gardening, then sewing, then a cookout. Lots to celebrate. Ooh, this is going to be bright, but this will be good. We'll end on this one. I'm going to fold it this way. Get longer strips so I can get 4 squares out of it. Oh, I'm so excited for everyone's trips. I think it's a wonderful thing. For so many reasons, meeting new people, the community, just a change of scenery. Just great. Around here, our supermarkets are on strike. So with any luck, that'll get over sometime soon so we can get back to having more choice. Okay, one more cut. And there we go. My goodness, you made my day. I love that you're all out there. It's going to be a good spring, everyone. Keep working on your UFOs. We'll start a mystery quilt in 3 weeks. And until next Friday night at 8 p.m., have a great week, everyone. Do what you love. Thanks for being here. Bye.